this. Oh boy. It's not enough. Give me the air. Air. Come on, baby. Come on. No, hammer. Hammer. Don't you die on me! It's not working. Clear. He's not gonna make it. $39,235 miles. Never gets any easier. Don't forget, you can check us out online at MotorTrend On Demand. You can search, click, and view a whole wealth of automotive content from our MotorTrend universe. Welcome back to Junkyard Garage, presented by Lincoln Tech. Today we're going to be dealing with that seized engine from my 1971 Dodge Demon 340 that we had briefly running in an earlier episode. Now this thing stopped without any warning, so we're going to do a kind of mechanical autopsy and see if we can figure out what caused the problem and how we. First, let Clarence Barnes lay it on you with this quick tech tip from Lincoln Tech.
One of the most important steps in painting a vehicle, especially if you're doing a repair that involves just one area, is masking off the areas you don't want overspray to land on. There's a lot of masking tape out there, and here's a few tips for picking the right one. Foam tapes work great in door jambs, while lifting tapes are for areas of gaskets or moldings. Fine line tape makes outlying patterns or stripes quick and easy because you can bend the tape around corners or curves. All of these tapes come in varying widths and degrees of adhesion. In general, you won't want to leave any masking tape on a vehicle for more than a week inside of a shop. The longer it's on there, the more likely the adhesive residue will be left behind when you go to remove the tape. If the vehicle's exposed to rain or sunlight outside the shop environment, you'll want to remove the tape even sooner. After painting primer, you can remove the tape in approximately 15 minutes. After spraying a base coat of paint, you'll want to wait 20 minutes. Once the clear coat is laid down, you should wait until the product is fully cured before pulling the tape. Remember, if you wait too long, you risk pulling paint from the surface along with the masking tape.
Lincoln Tech can teach you how to have a career working with cars. See lincolntech.edu.
All right, so here's a little bit of background on this engine. I stopped driving this thing in high school, and it sat for about 18 years. About halfway through, about 10 years ago, I refreshed the top end, rebuilt the heads, new camshaft, lifters, rockers, push rods, all that stuff. And then it sat until last year where I briefly got it fired up. About a month ago, we loaded the whole car up on a trailer and dragged it out here to Los Angeles. Okay, so in an earlier episode, I put in fresh gas, put on a fresh carburetor, pre-lubed the engine, fired it up, it sounded good. We set the timing, and that was the end of the episode. Now, it's a brand new camshaft and top end, so I decided to break the camshaft in, which usually means running it at about 2,500 RPM for about 20 minutes. Oil pressure was good, water temp was good. It started to sound a little bit rough, and as I started to investigate it, it immediately ceased. Now, that's a huge bummer. It's a big setback in getting my car back on the road. And here we are. This thing is not spinning. We're here to investigate, tear it all apart, see what happened. So we've got our seized 340 up on the engine stand, torn down to a long block. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the lubrication system. Oil keeps things spinning, so we're going to see if we can find any signs of failure there. That means we're going to drain the oil, we're going to drop the pan, we're going to look for any kind of metal material. We're going to take the oil filter off, we're going to cut that open too. That should also tell us what was going on when this thing. Let's do it. Let me drain the pan first. This is the oil we drained out already. So there's a bunch of metal material on the magnetic drain plug. That's not a great sign. Bunch of crushed up metal in here. That's not great. All right, I've got the oil pan off. I'm already seeing evidence of bearing material and some darker metals too, possibly parts of the engine in here. Here we've got our filter cut apart. The base of it also looks to be bearing material, possibly some metal from the engine. All right, so we know that there's definitely been some lubrication failure of some kind. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna pull the timing cover off, see if we can figure out if it's the crank that's seized or the camshaft, and try to figure out our problem. Maybe drain this.
Why put the cardboard there?
Yeah?
Just was in the block.
This is part of the plan. Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that.
What?
That it's still there.
So we'll pull off the timing gears and the chain, see if we can't get one of these to spin, figure out exactly where the damage is. Yeah. All right, now we've got the timing chain and the gears off, we're gonna pull the rocker shafts so that there's no pressure on the springs, and we're gonna try to spin the crankshaft and the camshaft, see if they're bound up. So we're gonna take special care to make sure everything gets marked in its original position. We'll probably go ahead and get new stuff, but in case you didn't, you want everything to go back into the cylinder it came out of in the exact position it came out of. Mopars have a push rod rocker system, and they're oiled through the central shaft. So there can be an issue with you assembling them wrong. Gotta make sure that this groove is down, which it is, so I don't think that was our issue. All this stuff still moves very freely, it was all brand new. Spins freely, crankshaft spins under a bunch of force and not very smoothly, so I'm assuming in here is where the bearings went bad. I'm surprised at how good this thing actually spins considering. So we're gonna pull the cylinder heads off, look for any kind of damage inside the cylinders, then we'll flip it over, start taking parts off of the crankshaft, see if we can find the problems. So we've got the heads off. The heads look okay. I found a small bit of material missing from where one of the head bolts. And these cylinders and pistons seem to be fine. Now we know that the camshaft spins freely, crankshaft does not. So we're gonna flip it over now, see if we can figure out why it's not spinning, see if we can figure out the oiling system, if there's a failure anywhere. So I had an aftermarket pan on here, which necessitated some modifications to the oil pickup. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check the height against the pan of the pickup and make sure it wasn't too low. At high suction, it could actually suck the pan up to it to starve the engine for oil. That's the first thing we're gonna do. So we have measured the bottom of the pan to the mounting flange at exactly 9 inches. So we'll see how far up that pickup is sticking. What you got there?
8 3/4.
So that's good.
Good day.
That's perfect.
Cover off.
Let's pull the cover off first and see if we can get inside that pump and have an idea what's going on there. And so we've got the cover of the oil pump off. It is driven fine. Looks like there's some marks on it from some material, but nothing insane. I've definitely seen worse with an engine failure. Now we're gonna start pulling off the rod caps, see if they look scorched or ruined. And then I'll pull off the main bearing caps and see how they look next. See if we can figure out what the issue was. So we've been tearing off the piston rods off the crank. Up until this point, everything has moved freely. As you can see, these last two at the rear of the motor have obviously got a ton of heat in them from the color, and they do not move freely. All right, so we only have 2 pistons in the motor. It still doesn't want to spin, so I think those are our problems. We're getting there, a little more. Yeah, you can see it's all torn up. Hot, not hot. You guys remember Hot or Not? Remember that? Remember that internet website? All right, so as you can see, this is a good rod end cap and bearing. They're supposed to move together. We're seeing on number 8, the rod bearing actually spun inside the cap, stayed with the crankshaft due to a lack of lubrication. Majority of the damage, that's the reason why the engine would not spin. keep digging into this thing. Hopefully we can figure out the problem that caused the lubrication. If not, it'll just be a total overhaul of the lubrication system with fresh parts. Once this thing goes back together, it should spin freely. Since this is an original matching numbers block, we want this thing to survive, and it looks like, as nice as it's spinning now, it should definitely be usable. There's definitely some damage to the crank. Could possibly cut it, use oversized bearings, replace the crank. There's all sorts of options now, but the real concern was if this block was totally screwed, we'd be in bad shape. All right, so we've got my 340 engine torn apart. The main damage looks like the crankshaft journals here and these two rod bearings that really took a beating here. So we'll take this thing, send it off to machine shop. They'll let us know if we can reuse this crank. If not, we'll have to replace it. We'll have the entire engine cleaned out, the oiling system cleaned out, and then once it's there, we'll also do some modifications such as opening up some of the passages in the crank and in the block to allow more oil flow so this doesn't happen again. All right, that's it for this episode of Hot Rod Garage presented by Lincoln Tech. Now next time we have a really special episode for you. Earlier this year, my buddy Mark Lenardin passed away in a tragic motorcycle accident. Now Mark was on staff here. He had his hands in just about everything. Editor, director, he shot stuff, he worked on cars, literally everything. Mark also had a personal product, an LS1 RX-7, that he never quite got running. So next time, we're gonna take it over for him and we're gonna get that thing going. So stay tuned for that. If you wanna keep up with us between episodes, you can check us out on Facebook, Hot Rod Garage Show. You can find me on Instagram, Tangelo96. See you next time.